Good morning, I'm Robert San. From your wallet to the wider economy, join us as we follow the money. Jobs, higher wages, labor protections, every Filipino worker needs these. But not every worker is getting them, and some are even unemployed. And joining us this morning is Josua Mata, Secretary General of SENTRO. Good morning, Joshua, and welcome to Follow the Money.
Well, good morning, Robert, and good morning to everyone who's watching you now.
Thanks for joining us this morning. Now, Joshua, headline unemployment actually eased to 4.7% in April, a 4-month low, and yet you've called the real picture bleak. Underemployment jumped to 15.2%. That's 6 million Filipinos with jobs who still can't get enough work. But beyond the numbers, Joshua, what are you seeing on the ground?
Well, actually, unemployment means for many workers who are unemployed, obviously, it means getting much deeper into debt. It means education of their children are disrupted. It means their healthcare needs are postponed. No, but the real problem, Robert, to be honest, is not unemployment. The real problem is underemployment. Because in most cases, workers who are unemployed could actually afford to be unemployed. If you're a poor worker, you cannot afford to be unemployed even for a single day. So the real problem, the working poor, you can't find them among the unemployed. You find them in the underemployed. And that's where the problem is, because it is still very high. No? And it means that workers keeps on working in mostly dirty and even menial jobs, and probably several jobs, juggling several jobs just to make ends meet. That is where the problem is.
Is that one of the reasons why the gig economy and the side hustles have been increasing in the past years?
Oh, definitely. It has had something to do with that.
Now, I mentioned that because the ILO just passed Convention 193, the first ever binding global standard for gig workers. Now, what does that actually mean for a Filipino food delivery rider or somebody selling online?
Well, that actually means that now the Philippines would have to first ratify it, the convention, and once it does, it would have to adjust all its policies to make sure that all workers who would require the mediation of an online service or a platform actually have rights. It means that people like food delivery riders, they should be provided whatever their employment status is. They should be provided with social protection. They should be provided with insurance. They should be provided the right to organize. They should be allowed to organize. That's what it means. And it means we want, and that's the reason why it's important that we have this ratified as soon as possible.
Yeah, you mentioned that now with this new development, Sentro, Akbayan, and the TUCP party list all want the Philippines to ratify this immediately. And Sentro is going further, challenging the government to be the first one to do it in Asia, if not the world. Now, realistically, Joshua, what can we actually expect from this, and how fast can this happen, if ever it does happen?
I think it all depends on political will, because to be honest, there is a tripartite agreement among Filipino delegation in the ILO, the workers, the employers, the government. We all agree that there is a need for this convention. So there's no reason for us not to have this ratified. And that's the reason why we're very confident when we called on the government to try to be the first to ratify it in the world, if possible. And the best way to do that is essentially to push government to do the right thing right now.
What do you want to happen? What in this ratification? What do you expect? What are you guys looking for?
Well, it means that the Department of Labor would really need to step up and get what is called gap analysis going. That means that there has to be an analysis on what are the gaps between the convention and the current legislation and practices that we have that needs to be filled up. That gap analysis would be needed, so that that would be needed to be submitted to the Senate, so that the Senate could then start the ratification process. Now, obviously, the pacing can be done in a very fast way if the government really wants to do it. So it can be done. And we're very confident that with political will, we can be the first.
Are you very optimistic about that? Because if we look at it, one of the things that you're also advocating for is the 200 peso wage hike, which has died twice now in the 19th Congress, refiled as House Bill 88 and still stalled. Now, why does this keep dying, and what will it take to finally get it signed, and also the other things that you're advocating for?
Well, first of all, when it comes to the C193, no, I'm pretty confident because our government has had this long practice of ratifying many things. We're very, very good at ratifying things, Robert. We're very bad in enforcing it.
I see a but coming there. But what?
Yeah, but we're very bad in implementing the things that we have ratified. That's the problem. So first things first, let's get it ratified. I think that's doable. Now, about the fact that wage increases and demands for wage increases is always told in Congress, well, it only tells you what kind of Congress we have. We have a set of Congress people who are not really interested in helping the workers. And so the reason why it keeps stalling is because I don't think we should expect them to do a miracle and turn around and just pass these laws. I think it would take the workers themselves collectively fighting, mobilizing, and knocking on the doors of all our Congress people to make sure that it is actually done. It no longer depends on the legislators. I think it really depends on the people themselves, the workers themselves, to band together to force Congress to do this.
How much has changed in terms of communication between the labor groups and the government in terms of what's needed so that you have a two-way communication? Has it strengthened? Has it waned? What's happening today?
Well, actually, the communication between the labor movement and the Department of Labor has been very, very bad during the administration of Secretary Laguesma. So that's the reason why we actually welcomed his replacement. No, even if we know that we are aware that he went on a medical leave, and we hope that he gets well. But him relieving himself, and getting out of the way would allow us now to have a better Department of Labor. However, we have yet to meet the new Secretary of Labor, and we hope that he would do better.
Now, with all the issues happening right now in the country, Joshua, growth remains slow, inflation high, and the situation at the Strait of Hormuz is still uncertain. How does that all translate into pain for the ordinary worker?
Well, it means that hardship will be prolonged, Robert, because to be honest, with Trump in the White House, I don't think that they can resolve this problem anytime soon. And even if they manage to do so, which they have been failing to do so, but even if they manage to do so, it will take several months for things to normalize. So it means a prolonged hardship for workers. It means that prices that have gone up will remain up, and it will not go down. Now, even if inflation slows down, it doesn't mean prices are actually going to be cheaper. It means more hardship for workers, Robert.
Now, we still have much to discuss about the issues hounding the labor market, but Joshua, we'll be right back. Keep following the money. Welcome back to Follow the Money. Still with us is Josua Mata, Secretary General of SENTRO. Now, Joshua, we know the labor groups, there's a lot of obstacles that you are going through right now, even during all the issues happening around us. Where are you actually seeing Filipino workers win right now?
Well, at least in many companies where we are able to organize workers, that's where we see victories for workers, because they're able to assert their collective rights and press for a just share in the fruits of their labor. And whenever workers have a collective bargaining agreement, they find ways in order to make sure that their incomes increase and their rights are actually respected. That's where victory is.
So you're seeing a lot of
where we should be going.
So you're seeing a lot of companies right now really thinking about workers' welfare.
Oh yes, definitely, and people are really fighting back. That's the beautiful thing that I see now. You probably seen the people of San Jose del Monte having rallies and pickets against atrocious water services that they get from I may be allowed to mention the company from Prime Water. So you've covered that, that's a good thing because now it tells us that people are now more willing and ready to fight for their rights.
What else gives you hope, Joshua? What's happening in the labor movement right now that people are not quite paying attention to but need to?
Well, despite the fact that the government continues to red tag a lot of the unions, particularly unions like us in SENTRO, despite the fact that laws are practically stacked against workers and it's a big hindrance to their right to organize, we see workers still struggling and committed to build their unions. And that gives us hope because as I see it, it's only through unions that they can actually address their problems.
Is contractualization still a big issue with the labor group today?
Definitely, obviously, and it is the biggest hindrance to workers accessing their constitutional right to trade union rights.
Now let's look at the NEET rate, or the proportion of young people who are not in employment, education, or training. We see it rising. What's your message right now to the young Filipinos entering the workforce today?
Don't be afraid to join unions. Despite whatever you've seen, whatever you've heard, don't be afraid to join unions because that's your constitutional right. Follow what the youth are doing in the USA and other countries around the world where they have learned to fight for their rights. And to be honest, in the US, it's now the consciousness of the youth about the need to organize is very, very high. That is something that our own youth should follow.
What are we seeing right now in terms of government support, continuing government support during this crisis for our labor groups?
What support, Robert? I'm sorry. What support are you talking about? I mean, we've discussed this last time. We told you that the government has yet to unroll any program at all that would address the crisis that we're facing, and that's a shame because this is an opportunity for them to actually make sure that our economy can be much more resilient, even and allow everyone to stay afloat during the crisis. That's a shame. They're wasting this situation.
Now, having said that, if you had the ear of the president today, one policy you believe should be prioritized on the president's desk tomorrow, what is it and why?
Address contractualization, because contractualization is the biggest hindrance for workers to access their constitutional right to organize. And we believe that if workers are organized, they can fight even for better wages.
Now, the SONA is coming up. What do you want to hear when the president has his next SONA?
Well, for crying out loud, the government should. I'm sorry, that's not a curse, right?
Okay, continue.
We'd like to see the president really do something that is concrete and tangible for the working class. This is one of the presidency that we have never seen anything coming out from his policies that would benefit the workers. And to be honest, he has yet to meet the labor movement. So that's a real shame for this administration. So this coming SONA, definitely we will give him a failing rate. So he has to step up.
Okay. Now let's move on to our rapid fire segment. Joshua, you just have to answer yes or no. No need to explain your answers. Let's start with this. Now,
I'll try.
Well, okay, let's start with this. Should the Philippines ratify ILO Convention 193 before the year ends? Yes, definitely. Okay.
Yes, definitely.
I ask you, is contractualization still the single biggest enemy of Filipino workers today? Yes or no?
Yes, absolutely.
Can gig workers realistically unionize in the Philippines?
Yes,
or no?
and they have been showing it.
Okay, will the next Congress finally pass a legislated wage hike? Are you very optimistic? Yes or no?
No, and it will not happen unless workers themselves will knock in the doors of their Congress people.
Okay, do Filipino workers have more power today than they did 10 years ago?
I'm not so sure. I think we need to rebuild that workers' power.
Have you seen it lessen in the past years?
Well, the fact that the president hasn't even met with the labor movement, that means he's not afraid of the labor movement, right?
Okay, and finally, Joshua, you've spent your life following workers and laborers every day, and I want to ask you yourself, personally, how do you follow the money?
Well, we follow the money where it doesn't go. When corporate profits rise and wages remain flat, when billionaires are sprouting like mushrooms, so even if job security is down, that is where the money goes. It tells you where the money goes. And we go to the workers to make sure that they get a fair share of their rights.
And finally, what would be your advice right now to the workers during this crisis, and what do they need?
Let's not wait for any heroes to save us. The only thing that can save us is to organize ourselves into unions and fight for our rights.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much, Joshua, for joining us this morning, for your insights, and of course, your time this morning sharing with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert.
Meanwhile, the restaurant business is under pressure. Weak consumer demand and rising costs are forcing one of the country's biggest food players to rethink pricing and store networks, while a top tycoon is putting his money into a gaming technology company. We have this report.
Shakey's Pizza Asia Ventures is closing stores and raising prices as weak demand and higher costs hit its restaurant business. About 15 to 20 outlets have shut so far this year, mostly under Peri Peri Charcoal Chicken, as the company restructures its portfolio. The group's fast casual portfolio includes Shakey's Pizza, Peri Peri Charcoal Chicken, Project Pie, and the Potato Corner kiosk brand. Shakey's Pizza Asia Ventures is also weighing another round of price increases after raising prices in early May. Management said profits would remain under pressure this year due to restructuring costs and store closure-related write-offs, though this could improve if oil prices decline. Jollibee Foods has been named the Philippines' second most valuable brand for the third straight year by Brand Finance, which valued its flagship brand at $3.3 billion, up 32% from a year earlier. It also ranked as the world's fifth strongest restaurant brand, driven by strong customer demand, rising transactions, revenue growth, and record system-wide sales. Chief Executive Officer Ernesto Tanmanchong, brother of founder Tony Tan Kak-chong, said the rankings reflect the company's growing value and point to upside in its share price. But the stock tells a different story. Months of selling have pulled Jollibee's market value down to about $2.3 to $2.5 billion, below the estimated value of the flagship brand alone. That gap widens when including sister brands. Mang Inasal was separately valued at $482 million, up 28%, and also ranked among the country's strongest brands. The disconnect comes down to earnings. While sales and system-wide revenue continue to grow, profitability has lagged, with first quarter profit falling due to margin pressure and keeping the stock near pandemic-era lows. And tycoon Lance Gokongwei is investing more than 2 billion pesos in PhilWeb. The move will make him one of the company's largest shareholders and give the gaming technology company fresh funding for future expansion. PhilWeb said Gokongwei agreed to subscribe to more than 159.5 million common shares and over 93.8 million redeemable preferred shares at 8 pesos apiece. The investment is tied to PhilWeb's plan to increase its authorized capital stock, though the proposal still needs approval from shareholders, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and other regulators. Once the deal is completed, Gokongwei will own about 10% of PhilWeb's outstanding common shares. If all redeemable preferred shares are converted into common shares, his stake would rise to approximately 15%.
And that's all for today. I'm Robert San. Thanks for watching. Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel, and always follow the money.